stand on the edge of a whisper, our voices trapped deep and so low, but the words now rise like the oceans and the sadness that only we know. Woman, adult, human, female, not hard to define, but they twist and turn, they blur the line. Women's dignity discarded, our rage begins to build a tidal wave they can't conceive. Let women speak, let the truth ring clear. We've been shouting, but they refuse.
Hello, how are you? What a great day to come back. So sorry, I've been gone for so long. Stuff happens. I have to tell you all about it at some point. But today belongs to the Darlington nurses. So let's have a little listen what they had to say today.
Yep.
Today's ruling is a moment of truth and a long overdue victory for men and women across the NHS. We came to this tribunal to defend something simple and fundamental, that women deserve safe, single-sex spaces at work. Today, the tribunal has confirmed what we have said from the beginning, that requiring women to undress in front of men is not equality, it is a violation of our dignity. This judgment recognises the intolerable and degrading situations women have been placed in. No woman should ever have been told to broaden her mindset or compromise when raising legitimate concerns for her safety and privacy. By ruling in our favour, the tribunal has exposed the profound injustice of a policy that placed the feelings of one man struggling with gender confusion above the rights and well-being of women simply trying to feel safe at work. The NHS cannot ignore this any longer. Allowing men to access female-only spaces simply because they claim to be women undermines truth and erodes common sense. This judgment aligns with the Supreme Court's clear affirmation of the truth and importance of biological sex. It also underscores the urgent need for government guidance to reflect the law of the land, as now confirmed through a growing body of strong legal decisions. Today is a turning point, but it is not the end. All NHS trusts across the country must urgently review their policies and ensure they are lawful and protective of women. We have compassion for our colleague and for others who are suffering with gender confusion, but compassion must never mean asking women to surrender their dignity, safety, or boundaries. We will continue to stand up, speak out, and fight for every man and woman in the NHS to be able to come to work without fear and in light of the truth. What happened to us must never happen again. We are deeply grateful to the Christian Legal Centre, our outstanding legal team led by Nyazi Feito, King's Counsel, and Pavel Stroilov, and the tens of thousands of members of the public who have supported us every step of the way. This victory belongs to all of us. Thank you.
Wow. Oh, feel quite choked. Wasn't that great? I was so lucky to have met all of those women, and as you may know, over the last few months, I've had some horrendous experience with the NHS. In fact, my local hospital, which is Bath, Royal United Hospital, is. I'm sure it's been on special measures. If it hasn't, it should. The car park feels safer than the wards. Terrible place. And if we had more, can you imagine? Like one of the things, I'm just going to link this, right? It may not be linked, but I believe it is. One of the things that I think is lacking in the NHS is strong women like these women. Like those are the women that you want to be on the ward, aren't they? Those are the women that you want to be managing the ward. Those are the women that you want to make sure that when you're in hospital, that they are on your side. They're on your ward, looking after you, making sure you're okay. They're the women. And I can't imagine over the years, if we look at transgenderism and the shit that the NHS has done on the basis of pretending men can be women, right? Or women can be men, and the mutilation of children and the sterilization of children and so on. If we look at all that and we ask ourselves, how many of those women just left? How many of those women, 20 years, but those women that went into nursing as a vocation, I was talking about this the other day to a friend. When I was growing up, the only way really that working class girls could kind of be elevated into a profession would be to be a nurse. That was one of the only things. Like you didn't really get teachers that weren't middle class, but you did get a whole host of working class nurses. You just did. And I just wonder if the NHS has done this, like the ultimate lie, that they took it to a position where they said to those women, when those women said, I feel uncomfortable, tough shit, basically. Not even tough shit. You're disgusting for feeling uncomfortable. You're disgusting for feeling uncomfortable. You're a bigot for feeling uncomfortable. There's something wrong with you when you don't see balding Dave, who looks like he should be doing maybe cover singles of 80s rock bands in small working men's clubs. When that guy, when his feelings was more important than those women, like, can you imagine an institution, how it got there? Because that's not the first thing, right? That's not the first step. Oh, we're a upstanding, wonderful, perfect institution. Oh, now we let men wank in, practically wank, or save stuff for masturbation over women in the changing room, and especially delighted when those women feel uncomfortable and say they're uncomfortable and show that they're uncomfortable. In fact, whoop-de-doo, one of them looked like they were having a panic attack. Wow, that is just the ultimate pinnacle of my, I want to make women feel uncomfortable. Now I'm a real woman. Right? Yes, all fired, says Helen. You're absolutely right, all fired. So that's this is hopefully the pinnacle of the worst of the NHS. I don't expect it is. But wouldn't it be nice? So what's next? Well, hopefully those women in Darlington, that they walk back into work as heroes, although I expect it's still very difficult for all of them. Hopefully this has cost the NHS a lot of money, but as you and I know, the people that spend the NHS's money, they still retire on fat, great big gargantuan pensions. A bit like the police officer that we heard about today, because, you know, obviously when you talk about community, you're talking about Muslims. When you talk about Islam, you're talking about Muslims. When you talk about Islamism, you're talking about Muslims. These are not ethereal concepts that just happen somewhere. They're people. These are people with an ideology. When you're talking about Rose, it's not transgenderism that made those women feel uncomfortable. It's a pervy bloke who calls himself trans. So I would like us to start talking. I'll do it if you don't fancy it, and you can join in later. But I'm going to not talk about Islam anymore. I'm going to talk about Muslims. All right, if that's all right with you. But anyway, what I'm hoping is that it costs the NHS a lot of money, the sort of money that no other NHS will want to pay out. And we know that they probably pay out a substantial amount of money for patient care, bad diagnosis, and so on. But I really, really hope that this particular judgment means that not only is pervy Dave feeling less entitled today, along with all the pervy Daves, let this be a message to all of you pervy Daves that in a tribunal, it was decided that if your employer allows you to make women feel harassed, i.e. use women-only spaces at all, then it will cost your employer. Now, the NHS, like we said, they've got deep pockets, but not everybody does. Not everybody has deep pockets. And sometimes budgets, unlike state budgets, which seem to be endless wastage. The really nice thing now is that there will be other employers who are like, we don't want to be taken to a tribunal. We're going to make the adjustments now. We don't want that happening to us. And unfortunately, boys and girls, it's going to probably take a few more court cases, but it needs the court cases that look, my forced status court case, and even Alison Bailey, as much as they cost an absolute fortune. And I I was recently in a position, I can't disclose what, where I had to seek some legal advice, and I'm in a position where I can seek legal advice, right? And the full status ruling, as used numerous times across the country and even across the globe, has been really useful. Clearly, it won't work in every situation, but it has been really, really useful. And that's still not forced Fife NHS or Darlington, whatever it's called, Northumberland NHS, to actually act and keep those men out of the changing rooms. Now, if those Darlington women, if they've tackled the NHS, and the NHS would have to be dumb as hell to appeal, but with that NHS, hopefully that ripples through the NHS. We now need to do it to a police force. We also need you lovely people to really start speaking up and complaining. And I know many of us women, often we don't complain, but you have to. And the reason you have to complain is that there will be loads of people who silently walk away thinking it's their fault when someone's got a pronoun yard or someone's got a pronoun badge. But we just need to collectively do this all the time. So anyway, that's me after taking a bit of a break. Not on purpose, but there was so much going on. Things that I look. Let me just address this. I do things on my own, directly for women, right? So Let Women Speak is about women speaking. I go to, like, if I'm invited on a panel, for example, the European Parliament, then I'm going to go and speak on that, because otherwise there's no one there saying the things that I want to say. As for other things, protests and so on, it's not something that Let Women Speak does, because I don't feel comfortable standing in front of a load of women who have things to say, who I believe voices are valuable, and just taking the microphone along with some other special invited people. There are exceptions to that, I'm sure, but I just want to make that really, really clear that Let Women Speak is my baby, and it's something that I believe has been absolutely instrumental in enabling women to speak for themselves, and that's what I hope. I don't want to speak for anyone else. I just want my voice to ensure that you speak for yourselves, right? And I hope that it does that. But to all of the Darlington nurses who I feel so privileged that I met, and Sandy Peggy, and to Jennifer, the best of luck, and to Christian Concern and the Christian Legal Centre, who have been, they just haven't supported the women and taken them to court and taken their case. They have been the shoulder for which all of those women could lean and lean and lean. And the days that there was difficult and they felt like they were break, that Christian Legal Centre and Christian Concern was there for them. So I hope all of you think the next time you put your hands in your pockets, that maybe it goes to the Christian Legal Centre to help fight alongside Jennifer, and for Jennifer, who was racially abused by a paedophile, and she's being persecuted by that same paedophile and healthcare trust. So do offer them their support. Look, it's not very often that I don't have something to say, or have the time to say it, but this period in time was one of them. If you want to learn a little bit more about what's going on, then you have to subscribe to my Substack, unfortunately. But I fear that where we are now, and maybe the Darlington case will have lifted us a little bit, but I fear that we are in a situation where people think that there is another way to cross this finish line, and their finish line isn't my finish line. I mean, that's why it's a struggle for me to speak at the same things as other people. Even though I'm invited, I just can't do it. My finish line is not that there's still perverts teaching your kids. My finish line is not that we still teach this in schools. My finish line is not that these men feel safe and okay about wearing their fetish to work. That's not my finish line. My finish line is not to say that, not all men are bad that use women's spaces. Yes, they fucking are. Every last one of them is a predatory pervert who uses a woman's space. Every single one of them is a bad, bad, bad person who uses a woman's space. Rose is a fucking pervert and a very bad man for using a woman's space. So that's where I sit. I sit where I don't want... Look, I can't stop women getting enormous breasts if they want to pay for it. But we don't do it on the NHS. I can't stop until we repeal the GRA, until the ECH, until we've left the ECHR, until we totally annihilate the Equality Act, the Equalities Act, and all the fucking people on big wages who uphold it, use it. I don't want there to be organisations set up to talk about gender dysphoria. Fuck off. All of it. Fuck off. I am not interested in that. I'm an activist. I'm not part of a committee. I'm not part of a collective. I can speak for myself, and you agree or you don't. I don't care. But I've always spoken for myself. I've got clear lines in the sand. Clear red lines that I will not cross. And therefore, it's very difficult for me to then be folded into some sort of collective with people that are willing to cross those lines. I can't do it. So anyway, Darlington nurses, thank you. So, if you have an idea of where you think the finish line is, and it ejects all these pretend people with their pretended identities out of schools, out of places with your children, where men aren't allowed to wear their fetish to work, where we don't have to put up with this, where nobody tells you their freaking pronouns and you're expected to abide by them, when our police force is no longer enforcing this shit, when it's absolutely fine, when I can be bloody monetized again on X. And by again, I mean, if I can do that, that'd be great. But when all of this stuff, when we're back to kind of 1998 levels of discussion around this, which is that it's okay for many people to say it's insane. That we don't have people to say, oh, I don't mean any harm. I'm not prejudiced against. I am. I'm absolutely prejudiced against. I want to discriminate against these men who wear their fetish outside of their house. I think we should be able to discriminate. But anyway, if you're on that page with me, welcome to 2026. And thank you again to the Darlington nurses. I think they will have a profound impact, perhaps more than any other, on the way that people speak about this, because there were many of them, and everyone knew one of them, right? She might be like your auntie, she might be like your mum, she might be like your sister, she might be like your friend's mum, but for all of us, she's a safe place to land. All of them. They just have that about them. That kind of, you knew with every one of them when they spoke. I mean, Bethany is so articulate, but you knew when every one of them spoke that if you were bleeding, if you were very, very, very unwell, that when they popped their head round the corner and they spoke to you, you knew that you would be safe. And I wish our NHS was full with those sorts of women. And I mean women, not people. I mean women. Anyway, if you can focus on the actual end goal, not the nice little collective little club that everybody seems to want to be in, then I promise we will win. If you can keep your intentions pure, then I promise we will win. And do you know why else we're going to win? Well, because I never lose.
We stand on the edge of a whisper, our voices trapped deep and so low, but the words now rise like the oceans and the sadness that only we know. Woman, adult, human, female, not hard to define, but they twist and turn, they blur the line. Women's dignity discarded, our rage begins to build a tidal wave they can't conceive. Let women speak, let the truth ring clear. We've been shouting, but they refuse to hear. Breaking the silence, breaking the spell. We are the women, we're raising hell. They've stolen our language, they've taken our rights, but we'll never give up or stop this fight. This memory of suffering will leave a bruise, but women, just remember we never lose. No, 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 no more bending low. Our no is so loud, our courage grows. Let women speak, let the truth ring clear. We've been shouting, but they refuse to hear. Breaking the silence, breaking the spell. We are the women, we're raising hell. Her voice shakes, her hands tremble, and she's so scared. The years of silence have put her there, but the words fill the ether, hour by hour, and as her voice rises, she finds her power. At the top of her lungs, she screams, she's a man. This is our space, it's where we stand. No more shadows, no more disguise. Let the fire burn, no compromise. Let women speak, let the truth ring clear. We've been shouting, but they refuse to hear. Breaking the silence, breaking the spell. We are the women, we're raising hell. Let the truth ring clear. We are shouting for all these years, and you chose not to hear. Let women speak clear. Let women speak. We were shouting for all these years, and you chose not to hear. Let women speak. Let the truth ring